In the last class we have learned about cell, tissue and meristematic tissue. Once again I am going to just recall the things whatever we have learned. Cell is the base structural and functional unit of living organism. And as tissue, the group of cells similar in structure and working together to achieve a particular function is called a tissue. This is the relationship between the cell and the tissue. Then after learning about the tissue, we have learned the kinds of tissue. There are two kinds of tissue, plant tissues and animal tissue. But our main chapter is about plant tissue. So once again, this plant tissues is divided into two types, meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. In the last class, we have only focused on the meristematic tissue. So meristematic tissue means a group of actively dividing cells are called as meristematic tissue, and even we have learned what is the function of meristematic tissue. So the function of meristematic tissue is to produce a new cell. Means actively cell division takes place. Cells will be dividing continuously in the meristematic tissue. Means the continuous growth will be present in the plants. And then after we have where all this meristematic tissue is present. Meristematic tissue is present in tips, that is root and shoot tips of the plant body. Means almost all growing parts of a plant body meristematic tissue will be present. And along with this we have learned that even the cells, how the cells are present, then what kind of components are present, all the components helping the meristematic tissue to divide the cells. Now in today's class we shall study the characteristics of meristematic tissue. So first one, the cells are smaller in size. As we all know, the cells are small. So the first characteristics of meristematic tissue is cells are smaller. Cells are smaller in size. So we cannot see with the naked eyes, we need a microscope to observe these cells. Then the second characteristics of meristematic tissue is the cell wall is thin. The cell wall is thin. And the third characteristics of meristematic tissue is that is nuclei are large and important. Nuclei are large and important. So what will be the role of nuclei in the meristematic tissue? So the main role or the key role of nuclei in the cell is which helps the cells to divide. Means the division of cells takes place with the help of this nuclei. Then the fourth characteristics of meristematic tissue is that is vacuoles. Vacuoles are few are maybe absent. Vacuoles are few are absent. Maybe in some of the meristematic in the plants, vacuoles may be present and it may be absent. So the main work of these vacuoles is to storing of food. But here in the meristematic tissue there is no need of food, but only the growth takes place. The main function is yes to produce the new cells, and the division of cells takes place and growth will be taken place. And the last characteristics of meristematic tissue is that is protoplasm. Dense protoplasm is present. Dense protoplasm is present. So dense protoplasm, nothing but a jelly-like substance which is present in the cells. And the next, another one, that is cells are produced. Means the new cells are produced. These are the characteristics of the meristematic tissue. So note out these points. So cell, definition of the cell, definition of the tissue, then kinds of tissue, two types of tissues, meristematic and permanent tissue, then the definition of meristematic tissue, and note down this characteristics of meristematic tissues. Now we shall move for the types of meristematic tissue. So So mainly there are three types of meristematic tissue. But in our syllabus they have given only 2 types, but mainly there are 3 types of meristematic tissue. So the first one is the apical meristematic tissue, second one is the lateral meristematic tissue, and another one is the intercalating meristematic tissue. Now we shall study the types of meristematic tissue. Types of meristematic tissue. So mainly there are 3 types. Of meristematic tissue. In that, first one is the apical meristematic tissue, and the second one is lateral meristematic tissue, and the third one is the intercalary meristematic tissue. So in our syllabus they have given only these 2. There are 2 types of meristematic tissue, that is apical meristematic tissue and lateral meristematic tissue. So this is another one tissue which is present in the meristematic tissue. Now we shall learn in detail about these 3 meristematic tissues. So the first one is apical. So apical meristematic tissue. So where it is present? So this apical meristematic tissue is present in the tips of the root and shoot. It is present in the tips of the root and the shoot. So now let us take a plant diagram. So as we all know, there are 2 systems in the plant, that is root system and the shoot system. So here is a plant diagram. With the help of this diagram, we shall study the types of meristematic tissue. So leaf. This is the rough diagram of a plant. So apical, first one is the apical meristematic tissue. I said where they are present? They are present in the tips of the root and the shoot. So tips, so at this, in the root if you take, they are present at this tip of the roots. This tip of the roots and in the tip of the shoot, nothing but in the stem. So here at the tip of the root and the stem, the apical meristematic tissue is present. Apical meristematic tissue is present at the tip and the tip of the root and the shoot. Then what will be the function of this meristematic tissue? Function of meristematic tissue. What is the function? So the function of meristematic tissue is increase in the length of the plant. Increase in the length of the plant body. Increase in the length of the plant body. So increase in the length of the plant body means where the growth takes place. So the growth takes place in the shoot as well as in the roots. That shows the, means the function is length of the plant body. Then the second one, that is the lateral meristematic tissue. Then where the lateral meristematic tissue is present? The second one, lateral meristematic tissue. So this lateral meristematic tissue is present in sides. Present in sides of the shoot as well as in the root. So either sides of the stem, in the sides as well as in the roots. So in the sides of this, the lateral meristematic tissue is present laterally, and even in the sides of the root also. So if they are present in the either sides, then what will be the function of this lateral meristematic tissue? So the function of lateral meristematic tissue, the function of lateral meristematic tissue, increase in the thickness of the plant body, increase in the thickness, increase in the thickness of the plant body. So one shows the growth, the length increases, that is apical. But in the lateral meristematic tissue, it shows the thickness. This thickness means the wider. So how the stem, first if you observe in the parent plant, it will be very narrow. Then the same plant, if it grows into, changes into a tree, you can see the stem, there will be a growth. Totally from the stem it has been changed into a trunk type. So this shows, so which tissue is helping them here? The lateral meristematic tissue is helping them in the increase in the thickness of the plant body, especially in the shoot as well as in the root system. Then one more, the last one, which is not given in a syllabus, that is intercalating meristematic tissue. The third one is the intercalary. Third one is the intercalary meristematic tissue. So intercalary, inter means the word itself will be saying here, inter, in between. So then where it will be present here? What will be the function of this intercalary meristematic tissue? So the function of intercalary meristematic tissue is, let me take a plant diagram. So a leaf, so here from where the leaf arises from the stem, so this is called as the node. So the internodes, the space between this. So where this intercalary is present in the internodes, So where the nodes are present, from where the leaf arises, that is called as the internodes. So here a node, the space between these two, this is called as the internodes. Then what will be the function of this intercalary meristematic tissue? So the function of intercalary meristematic tissue is increase in the number of branches. Increase in the number of branches. So this will be the function of the intercalary meristematic system. So increase means one branch, you can see number of branches will be present in the plant. So this will be taken place with the help of this intercalary meristematic tissue. So once again we shall recall whatever the things we have learnt in this class, that is characteristics of meristematic tissue. So first characteristics is cells are smaller in size, the cell wall is thin, nuclei are large and important, then vacuoles are few and are absent, dense protoplasm is present, and even the cells are produced, means the new cells are produced. Totally this shows the cell division takes place in the meristematic tissue. Then we learned the types of meristematic tissue. Mainly there are three types of meristematic tissue: apical meristematic tissue, lateral meristematic tissue, and intercalary meristematic tissue. So apical meristematic tissue is present at the tip of the root as well as in the tip of the shoot. The function will be the increase in the length of the plant body. Then the second one is the lateral meristematic tissue, present in the either sides of the shoot as well as in the root. So the function of this lateral meristematic tissue is to increase the thickness of the plant body. And the last one, that is intercalary meristematic tissue, which is present in between, that is internodes, which is present in between the two nodes. So node means nothing but from where a leaf arises. and the function of this intercalating mestomatic tissue is increase the number of branches in the plant. Thank you.